I mean, bro, like I wouldn't be on this platform just to be on a platform, but I'm on this platform because I understand the contribution and what it's doing for every other human soul who you're blessed to interview. It's really an honor at this point to have the opportunity to tap into your space of curiosity, inquiry, but allowing people to tell their stories. As an African young youth growing up to the present, that has been a missing link in our society. We don't have platforms that honestly want to tell our stories. Televisions are misguiding our energy. You know, radios are not allowing us to really like have the time. And here you are giving me a full hour to be my authentic self. Like that is to be applauded. You know what I'm saying? And every other young person should know that when I leave the city, it's you next. You know what I'm saying? So you know, hit the brother up and tell your story.
Let's go, Baba.
Hey, UG boy, let's talk to them. Let's talk, chicka, let's talk to them. Let's talk to let's talk to them. Let's talk, chicka, let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, dog?
Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, roll.
Let's get it. Today's guest is more than just an artist. He's a culture force, a pioneer, a visionary, and one of the godfathers of Ugandan hip hop. He didn't just rap in Luganda, he made Lugaflow a movement. From the streets of Kampala to the stages across the world, he has used his voice not just to entertain, but to educate, to liberate, to challenge the system. He is a mentor, an activist, a storyteller, a living legend in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor again to welcome to the podcast the one and only Babaluku.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, glad to be back.
Glad to have you again, man. And I mentioned an honor again because this is the third time you're appearing on this podcast. And before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about how each episode I've had you on the podcast has been an evolution. Like it's better than the other one. Like the first time I had you, we were like fighting internet and all that. I ended up putting it out there because the words you said were important to the people. The second time we had better internet, I think we did it when you're in Canada. And then the third time we're doing it in Uganda with an improved system. And I'm really happy to have you here today, man.
Yes, sir, man. The progress, man, I commend that. You know what I'm saying? Any place where commitment, you know, vision and dedication, what's fueling the energy, you know, you love to be in those spaces. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great honor and gratitude to be once again, you know, hosted on this beautiful platform, you know, to share and conversate as we do always.
And for the people that never got a chance to listen to our previous conversation, you could go check it out. I don't shy away from the work that I've done because that's what I could do at the time. The audio might be bad, the visuals might be bad, but we shared a lot of wisdom. I think we talked about music and we might not repeat some of that stuff. So go check it out and also check out this podcast. You are one of the first celebrities in Uganda that believed in me and believed in this journey of this podcast. I think you are my very first celebrity to be on this podcast. And the words you say the first time, the second time, even the third time before the cameras were rolling, oh, I don't got much. But like that belief you had in me from day one, you didn't even mind. The one guy I now views Biddy. I now likes Biddy. You just came, entertained, and gave us the wisdom. I really appreciate that.
I mean, I love you. You know me, man. Like from whence we met, you know. I mean, I've always loved the idea of the young generation taking position and learning and then making their contribution with their knowledge and wisdom. So I think for me, like I give you kudos and honor you because of that. Like from whence we met, I've seen your goal list that you mentioned to me from the beginning. I've seen you tick it all off one by one, and I'm like, it's here now, it's there now, you know? And so it's just been a beautiful journey to follow the progress and the growth in itself. You know what I'm saying? I met you before you were family, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I've been watching baby pictures popping up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even before that.
Yeah.
And people who are going to go back and watch the episode we had a while back, the very first time I met you, we were on the plane from Kampala heading to Detroit. And I was telling you, hey, I'm going to study. I want to fly airplanes. I want to fix airplanes. Yeah, you can make it. And you are coming here to speak to some kids in Kalamazoo, which is just a short distance from where I used to live.
Yeah.
Before even all that, like you saw me from day one before, because now I do aviation, like I fix airplanes and do all that stuff, you know? So like you saw me from day one, even before the podcast. Now you've watched the journey of this podcast and it's been amazing, man. I really appreciate it.
It's been beautiful, man. It's been beautiful. And that journey to Kalamazoo was also kind of very significant, you know, time that you're meeting me, because that's when we were actually up for a global prize. Okay, that's why we were making a trip to Michigan as finalists for this global prize. And then just to be on a flight and then we get to meet and you're talking dreams and aspiration. And I knew I was going to go present a slide about the power of youth culture and its importance to community and how we've evolved using hip hop culture to inspire generation. I think it's significant even to be on this platform now to talk about it and let people know that, you know what I mean, dreams are not illegal, you know what I'm saying?
To take it just from me, you have this, and this is where I want us to talk about the power of mentorship. In one way or the other, you've mentored me, even when we're not in physical space. Shoot me a text like, hey, dude, I know you're doing great. Even when in your podcast, you talk about, hey, you're going to make it. You just believe. And even like through all that stuff, what is this power of mentorship for you that you do? Not just even, I know we've shared about me, but I know there's a lot of young youth that you have that you mentor. How does the power of mentorship mean to you?
I think for me, having took a long journey before I ever found a mentor to pick me up and teach me what that means, I would have given up on so many things if that moment did not happen for me. But just because somebody believed in me, it made me understand the importance of believing in someone else. You know, and I'm one to pass the give. You know, I was given, so I give. You know what I'm saying? And so that gratitude for me in this country is something that I think we fall short of. Everybody wants to get and say, I have, but they never turn around to the give. You know what I'm saying? So I think with understanding that principle of you're given, so you must give, you know, it has allowed me over time to know that, you know, I can't own it all. You know, I'm not taking it with me. And so being able to plant it on many souls as much as I can has to be the mission, because if I'm not going to take it, what am I doing hoarding it? You know what I mean? So it became very important. I don't care if you're a lady out of market, if you're a young boy or girl in the ghetto, or whichever disenfranchisement you're going to, you know what I mean? It's like, I think for me, it's been the power of encouraging our generation to remind it that they're powerful. And beyond just saying mentorship, but the idea to be an example that you come from that small village and you went somewhere and believed in it. Maybe you're the chosen to show them, you know what I'm saying, that it's possible. Taking up that responsibility became very important. And I think it's been my school of thought and spirit to learn how to give back and make it genuine without calling it charity.
I really, really love that. And if somebody scrolls through your Instagram, it's not just pictures of you on oh, see my life or see what I've had. It's pictures of young artists, young performers. Hey, Geoff, we were talking about Geoff the Poet and Kayondo, who are young guys that performed at my live podcast. Shout out to Geoff and Kayondo. If somebody scrolls through your podcast, if somebody scrolls through your Instagram page, it's not you glorifying yourself of the great things you have, but it's you uplifting other young talent, which speaks volume to me. We need like a lot of that to you. And you're a man of community. I hear you every time I see an interview of Babaluku. I stop what I'm doing, sit down, and just listen to it. And every time you talk a lot about community. And we're going to be jumping in and out of music, referring to music, because most of us know you through music. Most of us have got to know you through your journey in music. So some of the references I'll make will be through music. But you're a man of community, and that's why you're known so much in this pop culture. And this is something you mentioned on one of the interviews I was listening, because some people in the pop culture, and not everybody, some people in the pop culture are into things that don't bring value to the people. But your love is so much into things that bring value to the people. And you were saying that one day when you're doing an interview comparing about pop culture and how people have turned that music into something that's not adding anything to the community. Can you talk about that and where you see that's going?
I mean, from jump, we've seen many platforms or many cell groups or groups that are formulated in the name of improving the culture for young people in Uganda, specifically looking at talent, arts industry, creative industries. And we've seen many of these platforms that claim to do such become exploitative platforms, whereby then they haven't necessarily created foundations that could lay legacies to be genuine and honest with their interaction with the young generation. And so having the awareness and being in the thick of all of that, because I'm supporting young people and they're gifted and they're highly talented, but the system at hand or the programs that are designed to be present are nowhere close to see that talent. Are nowhere close to lend a hand. Are nowhere close to galvanize or mobilize. But when it comes up to a certain fund coming up, then they'll show up as gatekeepers. We're holding this fund. It's going to be for the youth. They're going to do great in Uganda. 5 years later, there's no evolution, impact, or accountability for the same narrative, which over time depletes many of the young people with the zeal and drive to engage in their creative spaces or in the gifts or on platforms that might be genuine. So I always say that in Uganda, it's a huge challenge to be in a creative industry and participate in progress and development of your community, knowing well that the system that's designed to participate in your progress is not aligned with your values or is not aligned with the need that you see in the community, or at least now the need in the community is their money-making pond. So it has to stay that way. You know what I'm saying? And so defiantly, I sit on the edge always to speak for the creative mind. I sit on the edge to always expose the reality of our need to connect and engage with community, not as charity, but as responsible young Africans who understand that they do say charity starts at home, right? And so if we don't take care of where we're from, who's going to take care of where we're from? If we don't build where we're from, who's going to build where we're from? So this whole alienated idea of depending on outer forces and outer bodies to establish a foundation for us to design our legacy on is what I've actually shunned away from. And now I teach kids to build from the ground up. Engage in your community, apply your gift, and put yourself in a place to build relationships that can give you the opportunity to see the manifestation of what you have in your heart.
And actually, you were talking about that, and this morning I was refreshing myself with the music, and I listened to this song. I love this song, Jukiro Buto, because the lines you make in that song is like, and you sang this song while you're coming back to Kampala, and you're just talking about the things. And when we listen to music, we listen it in different style. Somebody who's listening to Jukiro Buto in Uganda might have access to some of those things you're mentioning. But somebody who's listening to Jukiro Buto when you're outside of Uganda, you just sit down and be like, it's like you're talking about the sugarcane, Twasalanga Lugabire, Netukolachi. I'm like, oh my God, those are just like the dreams. But that's a thought that just came out in my head. But and you're talking about community and the things you've done for community. Recently, you've been running this, the Mwooyo Street fashion apparel. Can you talk to us about that? What's that's all about?
I mean, with everything that happened when COVID came around, I had an opportunity that COVID phoned me here in Uganda. So I was here for the 2 years run of lockdown, You know what I'm saying? And then after the 2-year run of lockdown, I went back to Canada just to realize that the impact of COVID actually on both ends of the world left the same damage. You know, people are in depression, businesses are down, the society has changed and how people interact or move, you know, and it felt like now everyone is a bit colder, like hearts are cold. People are going through stuff. It's thick. You can feel it when you walk to the community, you know, and I felt like there was an energy necessary to tap into to find a cure of that energy, because we mustn't forget the power of being a joyful people, or the power of finding our freedom within to still exist amidst all the challenges that we're going through. So while I was away in Canada, I was asking myself, okay, I'm in my legacy era, you know, I'm supposed to be giving back meaningful things that will be here for generations to come. What is my message to the world? What do I tell a young person who is 5-year-old today? What do I tell their parents? What do I tell a youth? What do I tell an elder that while I was here, this was my message? You know what I'm saying? And so that inquiry internally within myself definitely led me into a place of start thinking about the best sustainable approaches to carry a message that will build community, a message that will bring us back into conversation, a message that will gather all of us, a message that gives us reflection for all of us to look at each other and find a way forward together. And that message for me was Mwooyo. You know what I'm saying? The spirit, not the external, but the internal spirit within of being reminded of your greatness so you could tap in and know that you are the master of your strategy to cure, you know, and bring back the beauty that you want to see in your community. And so, you know, Mwooyo, you know, the street apparel line is something that we are looking to establish as a sustainable arm to give back to what we call the Muga Legacy Builders Village. Shout out to Sustainable Access Foundation, our partners on our quest. We are looking to start really engaging with the creative community and giving access where they guide and lead their destiny, but knowing that they have friends who support the visions authentically that they have for their specific communities.
That's really powerful. And I love to have you here and just tap into some of the things, the visions that you have for the youth. When you look at Uganda, really, like all they like to do, I mean, I'm not defending the wrong acts that people do or the youth do, but there isn't really somebody who is getting these youth, preventing them from those wrong acts. All they want is catch them, take to prison, catch them, take to jail, catch them, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. And really that cycle is just keeps going and going and going. But if these places like this, like Babaluku Foundation, what gets these kids with their talent, try to rebuild their talent, and then they gain something from that talent. But speaking of that talent, is on the same interview that I listened to, you said that media towards music and kids in the ghetto that have good story songs, they're not on your TVs and they have songs. But at the end of the day, Uganda and Ugandan media is at a point where they are looking at what are you selling? How are they benefiting from that? So many of this talent dies out in that. Do you think that's the access you're talking about, that these kids in the ghetto need to have the access to their talent in that community?
I think this is for everyone watching the podcast. What is access for you? All of us have different points of access according to how we're cued in our own visions, you know? But we understand also there's spiritual access, physical access, you know? And you have to know that within you exploring the word access, it's really about finding a place where you are authentically applying yourself to exude and put out the best of yourself in within the community that you represent. Mm-hmm. Because all of us are at a point of access one way or the other, but the question is, do we recognize what access? Have we ever been in a conversation to even know that we are access? You know, right now I'm exercising this access on, you know, the Kampala Boy Talk Show. This is access. It's a form of access. Not a lot of people, you know, get that access. So it's about our community becoming consciously aware. You know what I'm saying? Do we understand what access is needed in the communities that we are in? And if we so do, how authentically are we approaching it for every specific community? Because each community might share a similar struggle, but it's authentic on how they want to deal with it. Or their priorities are different. So the access for the young gifted people in the ghettos is immensely and huge. And yes, locking them up and using them for various, political campaigns and then discarding them, making them expendable is not any way to contribute to them. Because I think I'm a big believer that, before you die for your country, you must live for your country.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I say, that if any young person is out there enthusiastic about a philosophy or an idea, ask yourself, does this idea avail me the opportunity to live? And if so, does that make my mother proud? And so if it makes your mother proud, you definitely are aware that your energy and your youthful brilliance is to build on a foundation laid by your mother to be able to create a continuum or a continuity of your legacy that will now bless generations. So we've seen a lot of our young people meet a decay without that conversation as an alert for them to know that, think about it. Does it give you life? Because a lot of people talk about, religious or political narratives. And the question is, how are our young people liberated in these narratives? How are they finding their pathway to be of service to humanity? Because before you promise me heaven, there's also the idea that I'm supposed to be here serving. You know what I mean? On my way, So I think for me, it's been very important to recalibrate how young people are being sold information that's misguiding them, whether it's through preaching sermons, whether it's through the idea of music, because music is a very powerful form of conditioning minds. You know what I mean? It's to find a way to ask them relevant questions that literally put the emphasis on living and the gift of life. Because I think our country is starting to put young people in a situation where life is not worth living anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so the message of Mwooyo comes in there. Tap into the spirit within. Discover the greatness that's naturally, innately given by the supreme being. That you're also a contributor on your journey here to do something great. So if we can start fitting all our children in schools with this kind of message, of course, they will surpass the conditioning that comes with the colonial education system that they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Which for the last 50 to something years, it hasn't improved the state of Ugandans at any level except took them to the auction block to be sold. So when a country's up for sale, one has to tell these young people, do you really want to be up for sale? Or you want to own your destiny? You know what I'm saying? So these are all things that we have to bring back in a circle for our young minds. And I'm blessed that young minds are curious today. They want some answers. They're looking for information. They're looking for people to talk to them. And then the other question is, where are the elders? The elders are hella bent and disappointed in themselves because they never did things that would have safeguarded young people to be in the conditions they're in today. But hold up, I just want to tell the elders too, young men and women are ready to hear about your stories and how you failed them so they could rise above, beyond, and do better.
Facts.
So we need everyone in our community to come back to the gathering. You know what I'm saying? To come back to the circle. Let's have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Let's reroute the trauma into positive development of seeing a better future than the past that we've come from.
I was reading an article and this guy described you when you see Babaluku, you look at a prophet. I think the article was describing you as a prophet. Every time I sit down with you, it's there's a way you open my brain to rethink what I know or what I think I know, and just hey, look at this perspective. Hey, look at that. And that's why it's a joy every time to have you on this podcast. And you mention something, let's have these conversations. And that's why you put up these things of a podcast and stuff like this. Because you can sit here, we're going to have Babaluku for an hour, which if he was gone on a TV, they're going to cut out his interview to sell what they want to pass on. But here, you're going to hear the whole story from the genesis to the ending of it. And with that, on the podcast, I have some segments that I usually do because some people love some fun activities or to get to know something about you. I have this segment that's called This or That. I ask you 2 questions. You got to pick one. You can explain to why you're picking that one and leaving the other one, or you can just say, that's my answer. And then we can just move on to the next one.
That's my answer.
This or that for Babaluku. Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Dancehall Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Dancehall Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Dancehall Studios, where stories come to life. Lugaflow or conscious rap?
Lugaflow. And Lugaflow because the idea of indigenous languages and narratives is the source of our spiritual communication. So without that, there's no rap, there's no hip hop. So Lugaflow every day, all day. You know, stemming your communication in your ancestral DNA ingrained, memory, It's important for us to keep our languages alive. So yeah, Lugaflow.
Stage performance or studio recording?
Stage performance always. Don't hide behind the studio. If you acknowledge you're a vessel, you are sent to the masses to deliver a message. And so you must meet God's people and interact and channel and conjure energy and spirits to be able to create a reciprocal, cycle that allows us all to transcend. So performance is the transmission point.
Old school beats or trap beats?
Old school always, never negate the foundation. New doesn't wipe out the old. You know what I mean? The new builds on the old. So never, fail to pay homage to the foundation because they lay the ground that we walk on.
This question is not on my list here. It just came up in my head. Afrobeat or Amapiano?
Afrobeat or Amapiano. I mean, I applaud both of them, but escapism for me is not a thing. I still need consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I do kind of bounce to the, the hip energy or whatever. I think who talked about it was Buju Banton that was calling out the whole Afrobeat, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about how they don't carry frequencies that feed the generation conscious elements, and then Africans are like, but we like to have fun. I'm like, we already have the green, we already have the legs, we already have the fruits, but they're taking our land. So how do we get our? Is Amapiano going to give us back our land?
No.
You understand me?
Vibes.
So for my, vibes on vibes, great. Like, let's get real. Like, we need to protect our land. And so we need to teach this generation via the frequency of sound of music to ingrain themselves heavily in our culture and also not only catch the vibe, but be accountable and responsible to the building that's necessary for Africa to continue the journey of its liberation.
There you have it. Bob Marley influence or Tupac influence?
I carry 2 bloodlines. I'm a Bob Marley fan. The whole entire Bavubuka, kids were listening to reggae and writing hip-hop songs. The whole Lugaflow inspiration is Bob, first and foremost, because we are a conscious movement. And you can't get more conscious than Bob. You know what I'm saying? The brother has created music that's created generational, informative platforms for us to find strength, to be encouraged in high season or low seasons. I'll be your friend, like teaching us the importance of the bond within our community. One love, you know what I'm saying? No woman, no cry. Like, you could go on and on, you know what I'm saying? But shout outs to Pac, because he was our era when it comes to, the poetry, the hip hop, the rhyme. He also gave us a lot to be inspired to understand the importance of representing communities. So of course, like I said, I share both of those bloodstreams.
I was waiting to hear what you guys say, but the way you put it, I can let both pass. Speak the truth and be broke, or stay silent and get paid?
Speak the truth and be broke. I'm an example. I spoke truth among my youth, and I've seen what has happened because of my nature not to engage in different places and spaces that don't honor truth. I work off a value-based system, value and value preposition. So I also see what that brings to people who don't want to speak the truth to power, or people who hide behind certain platforms while they know they're exploiting others. So I've always been one to stand for the truth, and I'll always do that. It's my commitment to live an authentic and a genuine life. So take all the money, give me my truth, and I'll go and plant me some seeds and grow some fruit trees, and I'll be okay.
In this generation where we are, a lot of people are chasing money, and we're going to get to that sometime later, especially like in the music industry. Like a lot of people are just chasing where the money's at, selling their souls for just a penny to get the money from something. When I asked you the question about Lugaflow, you said Lugaflow all day, every day. And I think today one of my focus too was to just dive a little bit in this Lugaflow, because a lot of us we might pretend we know Lugaflow because, hey, Babaluku sings Lugaflow, it's been there, but we really don't know the nitty gritty. So I'm going to break it down a little bit with some of the questions that I came up with for the origin and purpose and stuff like that. Has Lugaflow helped or limited the international growth of Ugandan hip hop?
Well, if you met me on a flight and I was up for a global prize, I don't call that limitation. It's about what frequency you tap in. You know what I'm saying? It was the power of Lugaflow, the unconventional methods of learning, liberating education within the hip hop framework that was indigenous, that landed us into that space. Now, is that powerful or what? So there's no limitation to what the ancestors would do if you choose to represent who you are authentically. It's what I teach young Africans today, is you got to tap into the blessings of your ancestors, man. They've been unveiled everywhere. They're in our story. They're in our sweat. They're in the things we do even without knowing. You know, we just got to pay attention to them. So when we talk about Lugaflow, I always call it a spiritual gift. Lugaflow was not to entertain folk. Lugaflow had elements that would entertain, but highly it was to preserve the tongues of our native languages on the, to put the native languages on the tongues of our young one, who are also the idea that you're only relevant when you spoke English. When we started a rap, if you did Luganda, they'll shun on you because they're like, he can't rap beyond Kampala. That was the idea.
That's what they said to you today.
Exactly. And so for me, I'm like, yo, if I rocked Hollywood, if I played all of this big venues, San Francisco, wherever we went, it's like I was rapping in my language and people still applauded it. You know, they put me up and we saw a lot of beautiful energies that came from that. And then we took that experience and knew that back home needed the confidence to do what we were doing. And that's what Bataka Squad did. You know what I'm saying? Is take up the confidence to show this generation that rapping in your mother tongue is essential to you as a hip hop practitioner, as a hip hop community. So stand on your authenticity to build. Stop emulating the West. Because regardless of how much you would rap and say I'm the baddest and you're still using a colonial tongue, you are still not from the diaspora.
That is facts right there. Kind of rapper who doesn't come from the ghetto ever fully represent Lugaflow?
Can it happen? Great question. I think when you talk about the ghetto, it depends on how you're redefining that. Can a rapper? I think it's rare because the most population that took Lugaflow to the world came from the ghetto. So we can't take that away. But can a rapper who's a friend of the ghetto learn from the ghetto and rap? Yes, they can. Because they might have a reflective sense of something they've learned from there that now can move on into their expression to be allies to the message. So in that essence, yeah, sure, be inspired. It's why we tell our stories, for people to be inspired. So I definitely believe that we could inspire each other and use the Lugaflow platform to keep our messages alive.
Is Ugandan hip hop still a voice for the voiceless, or people are now just going their way to chase fame?
For those who've tried to chase fame, of course, they have a limit where you could chase fame to in Uganda. You know what I'm saying? Until you have to look back at your community and say, I'm still from here, man. I can't keep this facade up. You know what I mean? I got to go back and really look at my country and see what it looks like. So a lot of people who tell themselves of success stories, and I'm not here to shine on people's success, but I'm here like your success should reflect the environment of your community. And it's not about being a star. Like, you know, I made myself a star because I had corporates who were financing and putting into everything I was doing, or because I went to school and learned how to be a star. I might not be highly talented, but now I'm the one that's on. You know, it's really key for artists to understand that the reason they have that gift is to reflect the times, is to speak, to educate, to carry frequencies that allow a generation to know their responsibility so they can play their role. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, the idea that people are chasing stardom is one that's shallow. It's one that's empty, because you could have it all in what? All right, so you're the star. Everybody knows you. They big you up. You've lived in the mansions. You've drove the Benzes, and what? Because you ain't taking none of it with you when you go down. So some of us are humbled from understanding the principles of life, that we ain't taking nothing with us. So might as well share it with our brothers and sisters while we're still alive here.
That is deep, man. That is really, really deep. So, sometimes when you say some things, I'm just like, I just want to sit back and just like listen, just like I'm listening to a podcast. I forget that I'm the host and I gotta go to ask the question because such deep conversation. Do you think some artists in Uganda are using Luganda to ride on the Lugaflow wave, even when their content lacks the real substance? Because one time I've had this before, that this generation has spoiled the message why we listen to music, and most of them are chasing, like we're talking about, fame, and they're moved from the storytelling to chidandali because they're trying to get a hit.
Yeah, song. I mean, yeah, you don't blame the young ones, because any industry will use your talent to exploit you. And when you come from poverty and someone is throwing you 10 million to put you on, you definitely will feel like the world has transformed and changed for you. So I know that a lot of the young people who are using the Lugaflow platform and they've took the commercial viability approach, they're definitely doing it just for the money. And also it has limited their skill, because for us who run ciphers, who exercise the spiritual elements of the culture, when you come into our sphere, it's totally a different, aura and frequency that we're operating in, you know what I mean? So there has been a breed now that has come and it's been creating a floating space for young people to, use wordplay in a Lugaflow way, formula. You know what I'm saying? To just stay on the surface so that they could actually have a product to sell to the corporates or to sell to the masses. But that definitely has not also been a huge representation of us, though the community, when it meets people like me, they're like, you're so wrong to get off the scene. We need more music. These young people have really destroyed what you guys started. You know what I'm saying? And I like to say, which is I'll actually do that. I'll start giving you some young people who I would love for you to interview. Because there's so many great storytellers out there. Like you've heard Spyda MC is blown up now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you about that, because I love Spyda. And spoiler alert, I reached out to somebody. They just given me Spyda's number, and I was hitting him up to come on the show, because Spyda is one of the smartest rappers I've ever listened to. I was listening to an interview he did. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, but the one that I tapped into, damn, he was like speaking facts, and I can't wait to have him on the show.
And so that kind of reality, you know what I'm saying? That kind of message, that kind of truth, that kind of honesty in your art is what I would hope that many artists will use as examples. Because we're all from here. Being able to truly be yourself and speak and share from what you've been able to experience elaboratively to the masses who would tap into relation to your story. You know, that's what music does. It gives us the power to relate. And we connect. And you know, I guess these days there's the idea of escapism. You know what I'm saying? Like I listen to it to escape. You know, I don't want to deal with myself. You know, but the highest frequency of music is to heal and cure you so you can find freedom within your truth and freedom within yourself to live. You know, so I just think that, you know, a lot of those young people who have the power, who have the voice, who have the story, just like Spyda, Uganda had locked them out of the bracket of even getting airplay or sponsoring their events or putting them on. You know, I'm actually here applauding Spyda for doing a show. I say it was my first conscious Lugaflow show that I've ever been to, where the people were there as people, there's no cosmetics, where the message was on stage and the whole neighborhood was performing that day.
Mm-hmm.
All of these other artists most often is like, oh man, that's my show. It's about me. It's about me. You know, I'm the star. You know what I mean? So I think that our community needs more people like Spyda, you know, to pop up. And we do know where they are. So we'll continue to support until we break the ceiling.
Spyda is a great example for all the young ghetto kids out there trying to break it through. Like he stayed true to himself. He didn't compromise any of his stuff. And he just kept working. That song, Abantu Mukisa, that's like the number one song on my phone. If I had my phone in my hands, I'll show you like the song he did, Abantu Mukisa, was really, really a dope song and just hits home for me. I really, really love Spyda and enjoy
but
his music.
but just imagine Spyda does a song like Abantu Mukisa, which is very powerful and positive. A national anthem to unify a country like our country in these times. And no organization, no corporate platform picks up that jam to support and endorse his rise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I talk about when Ugandans are haters. You know what I'm saying? It's like we shine on our own truth and talent and we want to just create the mediocrity because selling mediocre content allow us to create escapism. You know what I mean? And we want to sell, make a sell, but we don't want people to hear the truth.
That's facts right there. And I'm going to ask you, did you listen to the Cartel 5?
Yeah, that was fire, man. That was fire.
Who was your favorite rapper on all the guys?
Come on now. Why you gonna ask me? That's a cheesy question.
Who had the best buzz on the song?
I'm gonna break this down. And if you're an MC, all right, so if you know you're an MC, you listen to this breakdown, you'll understand what I'm saying. So there's one thing to rap in English, there's another thing to rap in your language. That's 2 languages. Now, if a man freaks a bar in 5 languages, we'll call that a super MC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So if you ask who channeled the highest frequency, I mean, my man he represented UG to the next level.
Facts.
I
agree.
He left. I was actually telling him because we linked up the other time, a couple of days ago, and I was just giving him his flowers and said, man, whatever you did there, like you were not you. Like you channeled. You went somewhere different, and I know, I could see it, you know, because the way he came up and he was able to piece a respectable art form of rhyming and MCing into a powerful representation that honored where we came from. Because, you know, it talks about Baba Bataka, Kalamashaka. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't get it. Right? But if you got it, then you know what's up, you know?
Before the song dropped, I just had him on the podcast, Riyonga. Shout out to Riyonga. And I think when I released the episode, the Cartel 5 Cartel came out. And it just blew up. And he had just talked about you because on that episode, I had seen you guys linked up. And then we just talked about you a little bit here and like how you've been impactful to his journey. And that song dropped. And man, Riyonga just ate it up. Ate the whole song out.
Like I say, man, it's like being an MC is a different kind of calling. You know what I'm saying? And when you're able to tap into your element and bring people together, but also represent your representation, you know, and represent yourself in the best way, I think that's the best art so far that I've seen around, from East Africa. And shout outs to my man Fid Q, shout outs to AY, shout out to KB, shout out to Sugu. You know what I'm saying? I just came back from Tanzania a while back, and I have to say that, man, I love what hip hop has done for a lot of the Puritans who engaged in hip hop culture today, who've been honest and carry the culture forward. They're great men and doing great things today, and I'm proud of that. You know what I mean?
No, that was a dope collaboration, and just to see.
So shout outs to Younger, man. Salute. You know what I mean? I know Ugandans be acting funny like they don't want to say it, but you left them no room to say anything. What else they gonna tell us?
What are you gonna say now? Yeah. No, that was dope. You've been vocal about activism through your music and everything, the songs you've done about activism. Do you think is Ugandan hip hop doing enough? I don't want to say political because I don't want to make it political, but okay, do you think Ugandan hip hop is doing enough to advocate? I would say, I don't want to make it political. People to think that we are here attacking any political, but
no, we don't do politics.
Or has it become too commercial? Because you can educate, sensitize without being political, but do you think some people have just become too commercial and they watered down the hip hop? Because hip hop, I believe part of it was to fight for people's rights, or like to educate people. Do you think that today's scene has watered it down and they're mostly just in the commercial part of it?
Yeah, definitely. Highly in Uganda, you see the approach of a commercial MC versus a conscious, movement brewing. That's only because a chosen few leave out the idea of what hip hop looks like in a country. Mm-hmm. And so that's the few that the corporates would work with. That's the few that do a few things here and there. But the real hip hop is in the neighborhood, still speaking and telling real stories. I mean, if you listen to Spyda's album, man, come on, how many stories are on that? Like everything that drops is saying something. You know what I'm saying? We're currently working on an album with a lot of other young ghetto MCs that are dope. You know what I mean? And that alone, man, when people hear it, oh my God, like it's just gonna be some other new messaging on a level. But the reality is that people turn away from representing themselves when they're hungry, when they don't solely stand for what they believe. I believe in hip hop culture. It changed my life. It transformed me. It gave me the opportunity to create a generational gift that's spiritual. How do I sell out? It's impossible. Mm-hmm. I always have to find myself in conflict in what I could accept or not because I stand by my value. So I honor the idea to encourage young people that regardless of what money can do, your gift applied in a very truthful manner can actually bring you more than what money can give. Mm-hmm. So I focus on the gift currency, and that's my message to the generation. It's like, focus on your gift. It will bring you everything. And being in your gift power does not necessarily mean to go and sell your gift. It means study the character of your gift, understand its attributes, develop the components in which you communicate with it, because it was given you as a key for you to access anything you need during your time here.
And on that same note, do you think the new wave of Ugandan rappers respected, or they have just diluted the foundation of hip hop that you guys built?
I think whether they respect it or not, it's here to stay. Let that statement go out. Like, we understand that commercialism is only but a moment. There's showtime and real time. And showtime has no impact on real time. It just exposes. You know what I'm saying? So for those who like showtime, hands and applause, show is done, find us in a real time corner, because life goes on. You know what I'm saying? So I strongly believe that if these young people are out there and they're not learning and they're not educating themselves and they're not looking at the history of what they're enjoying and they just want to bubble words and rap and make people laugh, ain't nothing wrong with making people laugh because, you know, a lot of things are going on. We need some laughter. Mm-hmm. But approaching something with a conscious intention allows you to create laughter with joy that educates and is able to inform a mind to improve themselves.
Right.
And I pray that a lot of these artists understand that that's some of the work we need to do as creatives, you know, is making sure that our art is able to embody all those things.
I have a question that I want to ask you. I'll not ask the other part because I don't want to push negative energy. Because I was going to ask you, who is the overrated Ugandan hip hop artist right now and why? But I'll just change it to who is. Okay.
It's okay. And I'll not name no names. I'll say that all of these young cats are overrated because they did not do the math. I don't find them in communities doing work. You know what I mean? We see them on shows, but you know what I mean? It's not about doing charity. It's about being a proud child of the neighborhood you come from and doing something great when you're given an opportunity for the hood. That's hip hop. So if I ain't catching you in the hood, and I'm a big community guy, so I go to every hood, something happening. And if I don't see you there, I don't count you a part of the culture. You're just a rap artist. So stick to saying I'm a rap artist. Don't talk about hip hop. Hip hop holds you accountable to be community orientated. You can't be in hip hop and just rap. It is a culture. It's not a form of music. Rapping is just an element. So it's okay. Go around and say I'm a rapper. We're cool. We'll let you make your money. You know what I'm saying? But when you come into hip hop as a sphere, you know, we hold you accountable to the community you represent and stand for. Because we are a community too.
You hear that? Mukawulidde. Tell me your underrated hip hop artist.
My underrated hip hop artists, all the young ghetto powerful storytellers that live in each and every ghetto that we go to, the TV's never seen, the radio's never heard, the studios never gave an opportunity. Yeah, they're all underrated, but they're sharp, they're powerful, they're cut edge. You know, I move around with a bandit of young artists. So, you know, I'm saying this because some of the great artists I've seen, Uganda has never seen on stage.
You know what I want though, one day, and if it could happen, I want all these underground artists, I call them underground artists because nobody knows about them and they do good music. I want one day to have those people not compete, but like show up with the mainstream, like the guys who have their songs put on TV and they just have like a battle to show you that actually these guys have like dope music. One thing I've learned about Uganda, it's when you're doing something good, as long as people are not eating or benefiting something from that, they won't pay attention to it.
Yeah, man.
You will do great work. But one thing that you say that I also say to other people is that just keep being you. Just keep staying true to yourself. You gave a good example of Spyda MC. He never compromised anything and it just happened for him and he's now just on the horizon. So to all the young guys out there, people who are doing podcasts like me, like you put it out, you be like, you feel bad or like, and I know, we talked about this the last episode. I had you and I was saying, like, I don't have the most views or blah, 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 blah. But, and then you told me stop right there because that's not about views and all that. And I keep telling people that all the time. It's just stay true to yourself. The people who need to hear those words are going to hear those words. So just keep building your legacy. You build your legacy. And yeah, that circles back to what you talked to me about earlier, like the neighborhood upscaling and legacy building, because I feel like you're living that. You're building the legacy that you want to leave behind.
I mean, I've understood, you know, being a young boy who grew up in Makindye and then getting the experience to move around the world and do the things that I've been able to do, I realized that the reason I'm still alive here is not just to be a rapper or just to be within the hip hop culture sphere or just to work with poets or, you know, but it's to create something significant for that 5-year-old like me, who was once dreaming to do all of these things, to find that opportunity and say, because Baba lived, I'm able now to also do the things he did with the support I need to do those things. You know what I'm saying? And I always say that because, you know, shout outs to Words, Beats, and Life and Nomadic Wax. I had a chance to perform at the Kennedy Center. in Washington, D.C. Took my Lugaflow movement campaign, Babaluku All-Stars, into this, nonchalant, red carpet, all of these crazy things. And I was there talking and representing my ancestors in my language and telling the story of my youth.
Mm-hmm.
But my man Kennedy had died years ago. But because he lived, there's a platform for me to stand on. You know what I'm saying? Because he consciously and intentionally gave back to something, there's a creative arts center that lives because he was and he understood the power of art. Which today in Uganda, when you look at our national theater, look at places like Ndere, they struggle due to the fact that what is the generational representation that's there if we don't have a platform to stand on and be celebrated? You know what I mean?
Recently, I watch Ugandan news. I listen to people talk about stuff. Everybody has become a blogger now. And one of the big artists in Uganda said that he has the power to block anybody's song at a radio station or anywhere. And I want to ask you a question. Do you think there's a secret gatekeeper in the culture in Ugandan hip hop that's blocking talented artists and unknown artists?
Artists themselves are their own gatekeepers, but they're also gatekeepers. You know what I'm saying? Individuals who over time had no talent, kind of took up the brokering space in between the artist and the opportunity. And they made it seem like because they were is the reason why someone has the gift. So, if you don't have me, your gift doesn't shine. So do what I tell you and I get paid and I pay you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that there's a lot of gatekeepers in Uganda that have done this for a long duration of time and normalized it. By the time you have promoters being the ones that, design shows for the artists, you know what I mean? It's like Ugandan promoters making more money than the artists themselves. I think for me, there's so much in Ugandan so-called music industry, which I don't still believe is an industry, that many people still need to come to terms with when it comes to not only the copyright, infringement, but also the character of an artist, their importance to the nation, their contribution to serving the country, their holistic gift that allows populations to flood up in stadiums. And the corporates make the billions and the artists go back to struggle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all of those gatekeepers, they're there, they know themselves. And if you're a gatekeeper, you know yourself. But times change, and thanks to the digital platform that's helping the evolution, because some young people now are tapping into their own independence to carry and do things on their own. But yeah, this fake Ugandan industry has definitely bred a bunch of gatekeepers who've not allowed the artists to thrive.
I think for me, I would think, I'm speaking from a fan perspective. No, I'm not an artist. I don't do music. I feel like media itself has been a gatekeeper for most of the kids' music. Like we talked about earlier, they're not giving this platform to these kids. And when somebody's breaking through, the media is trying to pull them down. Have you listened to some of these interviews that people are doing on TV? You bring an artist to a TV, and then you just start asking him, like, I know, sugar mommy, sugar daddy, what? Like, why aren't you focusing on building this guy's talent? So for me, I look at that as the gatekeeper.
Yeah, archiving lazy journalism. So a lot of presenters in Uganda don't have a level of intellect to know what it is to shape cultural identities. And so that's why also our artists have lost out, because we as artists, we are shapers of culture. Mm-hmm. And so you're right when you say that the media are gatekeepers. When you have a bunch of interviewees and interviewers who do not even do research to understand one's presence on air, and they want to clown them and coon them for entertainment, then you understand what kind of industry you're talking about. I think Ugandan personalities that are dealing with being on airwaves should really understand what that means. I don't think many of them do. Like being on air daily, you have the power to influence how a generation thinks. So it's also on you to understand the impact you could make by how you're asking someone those questions. Like I come on your show and all you want to care about is what sneaker I'm wearing. You're not asking me what inspired me to rise beyond my, last challenge. That has kind of put a lot of our young people into this new space. I also want to get on TV and just scream out the whole entire set. You know what I'm saying? And also just talk all of this nonsense because everybody likes nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what's selling. And they get into, so TV stations too get into the competition of like, what's going to get more clicks? What's going to get more likes?
Yeah, what's going to get the likes? But we shouldn't lose value of our moral standard because of views and likes. And that's where I say that, take it upon yourself as a gifted person, no matter what criteria you play or what role, to safeguard your moral standard and understand that your soul is not for sale. You are still great and power when you identify with intellectual understanding and things that advance humanity. You don't have to be a part of the destructive forces to make it. You can still carry your light and shine. You know what I'm saying?
I leave that by example because, and I'll refer back to a conversation we had, and actually we're coming close to the end of this recording, but I'll sum up with this. A lot of people, there's somebody who reached out to me like, oh, this dude doesn't have a following. How has he been able to win these awards and all that stuff? I told them the same thing. I don't know. I stay true to myself. I'm not going to buy any followers on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube and see 2 views, that's what I got. Those are the people that felt they're connected to those words. But that has come with a lot of love from people. Like I have people like Babaluku out there who loves the work that I do. Like he might not have time to sit down to listen to watch every episode that I do. But when time comes of like, hey, this kid's podcast has been nominated. Oh, I have a group. And I remember messaging you like, hey, Baba, my podcast was nominated on this award. I could use all the support I get. It's like, he might not have the time to sit down and watch every episode you put out, but in the time of support, these are the same people that really know your work, appreciate your work, are going to come through for you. So for me, that's how I've seen the payment. If I don't get it, that's okay. If I get it, that's okay. But people still have appreciated the work that I'm doing, and I'm always looking out to be the best, to change my best. I'm not going to go compromise anything because I want to get clicks, to get likes. Those who connect with what I say or how I do my things will come to my life and will support me. And that's the same message I send to any other kid out there doing anything, that because we get lost into these views and likes, and that is killing a lot of talent.
And people are losing money by trying to follow others. You know what I'm saying? Like your whole entire talent is being wasted because you're looking outside yourself instead of looking within. So all the currency you have within is not being tapped in. So that's where like the Mwooyo thing comes back. Like tap in within yourself, and then get into the space of abundance to understand that the gift within you of greatness will avail and create pathways for you to win and champion your cause here. But that's the authenticity we are all looking for. And I am just encouraging a lot of the young people who watch, or, who have had the opportunity to be on this show. It's like you're watching a truth manifested by authenticity, choosing to be someone, choosing to be yourself. None other than like looking at what other people are doing and emulating that, and there's power in the authentic you. And hopefully, instead of following the views, you could actually tap into following yourself and giving yourself the time you need, to also do something great. I have a slogan: get out there and do something great. Because I feel like, come on, man, what were you put here to do if you ain't doing something great? Like, you're wasting the air you're breathing, you know what I mean? So in case you haven't found out how to tap in and do something great, hit me up. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying?
You hear that? You hear that? Babaluku, we're going to wrap this up with another fun segment. It's called Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire is, you're going to give me the first answer that comes to your head, and we'll just roll with that. And I usually tell the listener, doesn't mean it's the right answer. It's what you could think of at the time. All right. The first question: one Ugandan rapper you think deserves more respect? Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Untapped Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Untapped Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Untapped Studios, where stories come to life.
Rue.
Most underrated hip hop album from Uganda.
I'm skipping because I don't listen to a lot of it.
I was just feeling, I think, Spyda MC's album. Like, we were talking about his music, and I think people need to check that out. One Luganda word that defines your philosophy.
Mwooyo.
I knew you were going to say that. That was just off my lip. Like, he's going to say that. If hip hop were banned in Uganda, what would you do instead?
Still do it. Represent my ancestors. It's an ancestral art form. You cannot take that out of my DNA not to be myself. So hip hop is not an alien force. It's part of my land. You know, hip hop represents me as an indigenous expressive being from Uganda, here, where I represent. Yeah.
Represent. First word that comes to your mind when you hear mainstream.
Chains.
Babaluku, it's always a pleasure to sit down with you and just have a conversation. Sometimes I just don't want to end because there is so much. Like, I'm leaving this recording. I'm like, oh my God, that was like such good information. Like, it's priceless. I couldn't pay you a lot of any money for these words, but the heart you have for the youth, for the young people, it's priceless. I really appreciate that. Anytime that I get a chance to have you on. Now today tewali kwekwasa, audio ali clear, video ali clear. Ebigambo mbulidde. A lot of people told me, "Hey, Babaluku yayogera bulungi ku episode gyomuleetako." Naye network ali ebuukabuuka. Kati buli kimu kiri clear. What are you going to say now? So I really appreciate that.
Advancement. You know what I mean? We give thanks. We give thanks.
We give thanks. Well, is there a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Yeah. The humbling life lesson is that we take nothing with us. And while we're here, let us continue to know that the more we outpour, we create a life that's worth living. And we are able to appreciate and be grateful for every little bit of it. In every action we take. So I definitely say that my life lesson is that one of gratitude. You know what I mean? The attitude of gratitude, or in all situations, good or bad, to remain grateful for, the idea that I get to wake up in the morning and still, do the work that I could do and fulfill my assignment. So I encourage all the young people out there to just know that the blessing is right within them. You know what I mean? If you're still breathing and you're waking up tomorrow, get up, be grateful, and ask, and you will be given.
Ask and you'll be given. What gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life is people transforming and turning into their greatest beings. Yeah, I love to see people win. Yeah.
Undefeated. Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? I'm going to be biased on this one. I know I already have Spyda's number, but I want you to put another hand in so we can get Spyda on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, and I had alluded earlier that I had a bunch of other young people that you should actually interview that I would nominate. But yeah, definitely we give it up for Spyda MC, right? He definitely has come a journey. And even now in the shadows of the industry, trying to suppress what he's become and not giving him the right, flowers to really encourage him and open up opportunities. I think we are yet to see the best of him. And I continuously encourage him, to know that the ancestors chose him in these times for a specific reason. And they will also see him prove that his shine gets to accomplish what he came here to do.
And with that, we'll wrap this up. Thank you, Babaluku. Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe Also, leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
What up, world? What up, relatives? We are on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I'm the brother Babaluku, all the way from the Pearl of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Where Lek Nalubale and Mugachira, are able to, of course, continue grounding the sons and the proud daughters of the land. But I wanted to encourage you to tune into the show because we definitely have covered a lot of beautiful, informative, inspiring, connecting and building dialogues, that we've had. I'm always happy to connect with my brother because we have built from the ground up and we live the testimony of being triumphant in our lifetime here to see the things we spoke about in the past come to manifest. There's nothing more beautiful than celebrating one another, building each other, and continuing to stand in solidarity to put back in our homeland here in Uganda. So I know he's in the diaspora. I'm a child of the diaspora. So the beauty that we stand on to say that we are proud Ugandans is one that I want us to continue using to elevate and encourage others to invest back home. So welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I'm the brother Babaluku. The love remains. Lugaflow essential, but Vuvuka Wataka all day, every day.
Waroya, we never fake MC, never real MC. Oh, Jikubye, it's crazy. It's the feeling of like every time I talk to you, it just hits different, and I'm excited for the people to tune into this podcast after it comes out. You're one of the people that have helped me a lot to stay strong in this thing and just keep going, even because we all have those days where you feel down low, but
yeah,
because at this point I'm not doing it for myself. When I have this conversation, yes, I love it, but I'm doing it for the young child who is going to tune in and change his life, and the good thing for me, this is not my job. This is a hobby. This is something I do for fun. God has blessed me to
hold
do
up,
my
hold up. Let me change that. So yeah, it used to be a hobby, okay? That's a used to be. Now it's an actual platform.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's true.
Let's own the narrative. Let's own the narrative here. The narrative should be, at this point, this platform will ensure that the visibility of every other African descent human soul who's been locked out of the gates of having media represent them, have their stories told, will have a home. You know what I'm saying? Because I strongly believe that sometimes in our wins, we belittle those wins. You know what I'm saying? Yet they're really powerful and they're creating a force. I never knew the impact I made on my generation until COVID. I really didn't know. But staying on the continent for those 2 years, the gratitude I saw, the gifts that I got, the words that I received from people literally made it seem like I was sitting in some. And for the first time, I felt like, wow, we did all of that. So I like to also say, from whence you started to now, you have done all of that. And you continue to build on all of that. So right now, this hobby-inspired platform, right, is an official platform to offset future stories from the continent to be heard by the world. So welcome to Uganda through Ugandan Boy Talk Show. And now you can speak to the universe, cast it out.
Exactly. I love every time I have you on the podcast, you school me on something. And not in a bad way, but like you change my mindset on how I look at something, which I love. I really love that. I love when somebody puts me to another perspective. Hey, I know you see life like that. How about you look at it like this? And that's how I live. I live by that. So, Babaluku.
I mean, bro, I wouldn't be on this platform just to be on a platform. But I'm on this platform because I understand the contribution and what it's doing for every other human soul who you're blessed to interview. It's really an honor at this point to have the opportunity to tap into your space of curiosity, inquiry, but allowing people to tell their stories. As an African young youth growing up to the present, that has been a missing link in our society. We don't have platforms that honestly want to tell our stories. televisions are misguiding our energy. Radios are not allowing us to really like have the time. And here you are giving me a full hour to be my authentic self. Like, that is to be applauded. You know what I'm saying? And every other young person should know that when I leave the city, it's you next. You know what I'm saying? So hit
next.
the brother up and tell your story.
Let's go, Babaluku. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I won't
man.
keep you here for long. The DOP will get some pictures of you in the studio that we'll use for this episode, so we don't have to bother you with sending us pictures. All right, brother, let's stay connected. I'll hit you up.
All right, blessings, man. Thank you once again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.